And welcome everybody to episode 78 of the Paws podcast. We hope you're enjoying the new year. Let's be the first to wish you that you guys hope had a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it may be. We hope the end of 2024 was a lovely one. Now, I am Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral. And Kevin, wait a minute, hold the phone. I don't think you're in your usual setup, Kevin. You're with spending some time with friends and family over in the city of brotherly love.
Yeah, excited to be back on. It's been a while. It really has. I
Yeah.
think, what was our last episode? I can't even, Rich Witten.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple of weeks, definitely. But, time with family, you as well. You spent some time with family. I did as well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's time to get back on the grind. So I'm excited. Talked a lot. A lot has happened since we last spoke. New coaching staff, some transfers for football. We're going to talk a little bit about basketball now that they're finishing up the non-con, starting up the conference play. Conference USA, that's going to most likely be a multi-bid league at this pace. So we'll see. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about for sure, and I'm really excited to be back talking FIU, back to get on the grind. And by the time you guys are watching this, Jake, you'll be at the Ocean Bank Convocation Center for the final non-con game against, I believe, Utah Tech. So should be a good one. And yeah, I'll be back for the conference opener against Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Kev. This is going to be primarily a basketball and football-based episode. There's a lot of news to talk about with each. I think let's start off with football and talk a bit about two things. One, I want to say near-completed coaching staff, as well as the notable transfers who have entered FIU. So let's just get right into it there. I want to highlight some of your work, Kev. That beautiful transfer portal tracker for SI. My goodness, this thing is useful as hell. It highlights all the outgoing players as well as a lot of the incoming guys. And I think that's where we're going to start, talking about some of these incoming players. They've gone the JUCO route, they've gone the P4 route, and they've gone through a lot of local guys who grew up in Miami, went to Miami-based high schools. I think the best story is, of course, Demetrius Hill, who is returning to FIU. Yeah. But who are some of the players that are you most excited to see, Kev?
Yeah, so we could start right there with Demetrius Hill, safety. Freshman year was an All-American for FIU, All-American freshman. So that was huge. He had 95, I believe, total tackles his freshman season with FIU. Unfortunately, we went to Illinois and only lasted one game, and he had a torn ACL, missed the rest of the 2023 season, didn't play in 24. Not exactly sure if it was due to the injury or not, but didn't play. So that was definitely a tough loss there for FIU, but, you get him back. I'm not going to say he's going to do the same exact thing he did at FIU, but there's a good chance he does. You never know. So I'm definitely pretty high on him. I think he should really plug right away and start. I can't remember the last time I saw a player enter the transfer portal and go back to the team that they left originally. I think that happened actually a couple times this offseason, but that's really a rare occasion. Other name I wanted to highlight is one of the first, Lamont. I believe it's Lamont Green Jr. He is, Lamont Green Jr., an edge rusher out of FSU, 4-star recruit, former 4-star, literally just a year or two ago. Didn't play. I spoke to some people over there at FSU. They're telling me he's more of a project type player. So, he's a big dude, 6'3", 229. I mean, Keegan Davis said he was going to be gone at some point, in the next year or two. So this is a good guy to have his depth, and I'm sure he'll play. Same thing goes with Stanford transfer, Aaron Armitage, I believe is how you say it. We'll get more clarification on the name soon, obviously, once these are more official. But yeah, definitely a big, acquisition there. 22 total tackles through his time at Stanford. I believe he was committed actually to Nevada. He decommitted after a coaching change, and FIU was able to snag him. So those are the really three big pieces I'm looking at. Kenton Simmons, definitely another guy that stands out. I believe he could also play some linebacker. So that's a good one out of the JUCO ranks. Same thing goes with Kendall Marks. I heard a lot of good things about him. And then finally, the last name I believe is all the way at the bottom, Jay Celestine, cornerback out of Arizona, another P4 guy. I'm sorry. That's that's a big acquisition there. Former big name recruit out
Mhm.
of Miami Palmetto High. He
Yeah.
did a little bit of offense as well as special teams. He was a kick returner, so he had a 50-yard return. So I mean, yeah, this is definitely another pretty interesting piece. So FIU really going heavy on the defensive side of things. They've offered a couple tight ends already.
Mhm.
From what I noticed, actually recently they offered one from Penn. They offered an offensive lineman from Penn State that was committed to Penn State, I think it was, and he decommitted, something like that. 4-star recruit. So again, FIU's really gone big on in the portal, and they've gone big on the recruiting side as well, which we'll get into once all of those are made official. But they did get a
Mhm.
4-star recruit, which was crazy
Yeah.
to say.
There have been there obviously, Kev. There have been years where FIU has not gotten a 4-star recruit or signed a 4-star
It's been
recruit
a
through
long
the
time.
portal.
It's been a very, very
Yeah.
long time. I want to say the last one was Tier Tart. So that
Yeah.
just shows you, and that's and according to 247, of course, that's the highest rated player they've gotten ever. So I mean, look,
Yeah.
and credit to Mike McIntyre and his staff. They've gotten some top 10 guys according to that 247 thing. Devontae Lyons, Sterling Joseph, for example. Keywan doesn't fall in there, fortunately. But they've had their guys for sure, and they've been able to bring in talent through the JUCO ranks like a Travion Barnes and even an Eric Rivers who came from Memphis. So just some guys that stood out there. But yeah, I mean, Willie Simmons has really crushed it through the portal so far, and even recruiting. And we're going to talk about the staff. I really think he put an amazing staff up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The fact that we have signed not one but two former 4-stars in this transfer portal system, I do think is really cool. And I had my wonders of how Simmons and the FIU coaching staff were going to attack groups of players on either the JUCO level, the G5 level, and the P4 level. So far, it's just been JUCO and P4, P4, which I think is very cool, and I think it's good to see a balanced mix of that because you can find talent anywhere, like regardless of the team, D2, D3, JUCO, FCS, G5, and P4. There's talent there to take through the transfer portal, and I like how so far it's been pretty balanced in this transfer portal for FIU. Going to the big teams, Florida State, Stanford, Illinois, and Arizona, as well as Butler Community College and Tyler Junior College. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and they still have a lot to address. Like, let's be honest, they've addressed some needs.
Mm-hmm.
Edge rusher being one of them, I would say for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, they still need a wide receiver. They still need They still need some tight ends. They did get the commitment of Jackson Verdugo, who I believe will be signed in February.
Yeah.
So your tight end room is pretty depleted right now. They've offered a couple guys. I think the guy from Penn, and they offered another guy who I believe was at, I want to say, Arizona or Arizona State. So they offered him too. But yeah, that's the only offensive line. They really need to stack up on some offensive linemen. I mean, they've lost a lot of guys in that group. Only returner from that starting line is Jaheim Buchanan. JD Lee recently went to Kennesaw State, so if FIU does play the Owls, they'll be coming down to Miami. He'll be returning. Travis Burke is now in the portal. I mean, that whole offensive line, John Bach went to Tulane. So it's definitely a tough scene in the offensive line situation. You still need another quarterback, regardless of, Keywan coming back or not, which I don't think we spoke about that. So Keywan back. So yeah, that's huge, obviously.
Yeah.
We've missed a lot, man. We've missed a lot.
It's been a while, but yeah, that's obviously the biggest thing, which obviously we are all now familiar with. Keywan's coming back. It's massive. It's definitely going to, I think, maybe convince some other players to maybe come back and give FIU one more shot. And obviously, it'll also talk to some newcomers in the offensive linemen and receivers group and whatnot that, hey, if you come to FIU, you're going to have a bona fide stud at the quarterback who put up insane numbers last year and who can definitely do it again. So I think it was a massive pull for Simmons to get Jenkins back. And I think a part of that could be because, and I think we've spoken about this with other people, that if Lights were to go to a P4 program in either Houston or I think Louisville, playing time maybe would not have been guaranteed. He would have had to fought for it with some of the other transfers and returners and whatnot. In a situation like FIU, Lights knows that he'll get playing time immediately, which he deserves because he's literally proven why he deserves it. So regardless, I think it's an awesome move from the coaching staff to get Keywan to come back regardless of the circumstances. And is just a good look for the program because we haven't had a quarterback to spend 3 years here at FIU. It's very hard to come by, Kev. I don't know if you have the name pulled up in front of you, but it's been a while since we've had a quarterback play 3 full seasons or more with us.
It was Alex Magoo. So
Alex
that's
Magoo.
the last one. Yeah, it's been a while, and
he did pretty good in the pro level,
No, yeah, he did. I mean, he's with the Packers, I believe, as a wide receiver now. But yeah, I mean, really quick, just I mean, FIU still has a lot to address. I mean, you still need a running back or two. That room is a little bit depleted with the losses of Owens and Lawrence, who I think one of them.
Have they committed yet, or have they not?
No, they have not. They have really lacked the offers. They haven't gotten many offers.
Okay.
Nana Burris did commit. I need to update that. He went to Arkansas State. Travis Burke is yet to commit, and Reggie Peterson, I need to put retired. Reggie Peterson, from what I understand, is done. He's not playing anymore. So yeah, need to update that really quickly at some point, probably after this. So yeah, overall, look, I mean, FIU still has a lot to address. This team on defense looks pretty good, to be honest with you. Still,
yes, it looks great.
Pieces. They still have a lot of returners coming back, especially on the edge, the linebackers, and the defensive line as a whole. Still have Brian Blades. Got to see what you do at cornerback there. They had some good depth there to begin with. And safeties, I mean, you're going to have to go with 2 completely new safeties. Obviously, they still have returners in Bobby Sala, Antonio Patterson, Shamir Sterling, but, now Demetrius Hill gets in there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that defense. But I'm looking at the offense, man, and I'm still not totally convinced. Obviously, quarterback is huge to, have. So I'm excited that's the dress. I'm excited you're going to have a Juju Lewis coming back to be a wide receiver 1. Now I need to build around that. You need an offensive line to come in and really play. So let's see what happens. There's some Miami offensive linemen in there, and we'll address why we're specifically talking about Miami offensive linemen.
Yeah,
but it should definitely be an interesting situation with FIU and in the portal. I mean, they need to attack it more than ever, and I think under Willie Simmons and this staff, there's going to be a good opportunity for everyone, and we're going to be looking at certain situations and certain schools and certain guys that are in the portal and how they would fit at FIU. For example, I'll just throw one out there: Star Thomas, the running back at Duke. He entered the transfer portal. That would be a massive get for FIU. Former New Mexico State running back from a couple years ago when they made the championship game. He ran for over 1,000 yards, I want to say. He was one of the top rushers in Conference USA. He didn't have the same success as Duke. He was good, but this is a Willie Simmons guy through and through. Willie Simmons brought him to Duke, so I could see a world where he follows Simmons over to FIU, puts up another 1,000 yards, and potentially goes to the NFL.
Let's dive into the coaching staff now, Kevin, because I believe the majority of the spots, or at least the major spots, have been finalized. We know who they're going to be. I know Pete Thamel, I believe it's Thamel on social media posted the full list. So obviously you have Willie Simmons as the head coach. You have Coleman as the OC and QB coach. And most recently announced the associate head coach and tight ends coach Frank Ponce is now joining the FIU staff. You have some of your returners and Javon Dewitt, Kanishi Udeze, just to name a few, Kev. All things considered, damn, I really like a lot of the pieces that this FIU coaching staff has in general. This might be one of the best as far as name brand as well as familiarity combined. One of the best coaching staff I think FIU has had in a while. You have Frank Ponce, who we thought could potentially become the head coach straight up of FIU, but he still joins the team and he'll still make an impact here. I love this coaching staff. First glance, Kev. How about you?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, Willie Simmons killed it. There's no other way to say it. You bring in 2 former Miami Hurricanes and Edwin Pata, and I hope I'm saying this right, Benedict Hypolite. We'll definitely get better pronunciation of that later on.
As the months go,
yeah. Potts is actually an FIU alum, so that's a really cool story overall. He actually started out with Mario Cristobal on that staff as a grad assistant, and goes back to Miami with Cristobal. He was a former head coach at the high school ranks. Frank Ponce, same situation, was under Mario Cristobal's staff at FIU as the wide receivers coach, so he was part of T.Y. Hilton's career big time. He was a part of the Sun Belt dominance that FIU had for their short period of time. So he did interview for the job twice. Interviewed the first time when McIntyre got it. Interviewed now when Frank Ponce got it. When Willie Simmons got it. And that's a great addition. I've already spoken to him. We're going to get him on the podcast at some point. Miami guy. So funny enough, look, to be honest, he was the former coach at my high school at one point, Coral Reef Senior High. So that's really cool.
How about that?
Oh yeah, that was a really fun nugget there. I was able to get. And you mentioned it, returners, Jovan DeWitt. So our good buddy Eric Henry actually noted this on Twitter and even told me 3 of the guys on the staff interviewed for the head coaching job: Willie Simmons, Frank Pons, and Jovan DeWitt.
How about
So it's
that?
pretty cool that a lot of them put egos aside and not are all on the same staff. So a lot of respect
That's really
to them.
cool.
Ryan Smith, linebackers coach, he was at FAMU for a bit. He was actually the defensive coordinator at FAMU for a very long time under Willie Simmons. Really struggled this season at Murray State. I believe he only won a single game. So he's now the linebackers coach with Simmons. Special teams coordinator, safeties, it's going to be Kenneth Gilstrap. He was formerly at UAB and Middle Tennessee. He was a former player under Willie Simmons when Simmons was at Middle Tennessee. So I like the hire there. Really good stuff on special teams from what I'm seeing, at least from what I've read. And Gilstrap's safeties, cornerbacks, he's been good with the secondaries. Aside from that, I mean, man, there's no bad hire. Jelani Barasa, another FAMU guy. I don't think he was with Simmons particularly at FAMU, but he definitely was pretty big in some certain players' developments from what I've been reading. But I think everyone cares about the offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach, Nick Coleman. He was part of Spencer Rattler's development at South Carolina. He was a part of that team. He was also a part of Jacob Zeno's first big season with UAB, putting up over, I believe, just record-breaking numbers. I know they struggled this season, but Nick Coleman, I think that's a good hire for the most part. So we'll see what happens. And Udezi's going from outside linebackers to defensive line coach, and Gator sticks at cornerback for another season. So, you keep your pieces on defense, but you still bring in your own little taste of it. And offensively, you have a completely new staff, which I like. And I think it's worth noting Hypolite is a very, very, very well-known name down here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Miami high schools. He coached at Miami high schools. He won championships at Miami high schools. This is a great hire. Man, I think they're going to kill it down here. These are South Florida proven guys that have been able to recruit at the highest levels possible. This is a really good staff, Jake. I think they're going to kill it. We're going to try to talk to as many as we can for sure on the podcast. We're just waiting for the school to make it official. And once they do, I think it'll be a pretty good time with this coaching staff. I think it's a new vibe. It's a lot of younger names too. Edwin Pata is pretty young.
Yes.
Same thing with Barasa. Nick Coleman is very young. Ponce is young as well for the most part. So I mean, you got Udezi as well. I'm excited. I'm very excited with this coaching staff. I can't say enough about how good how good of a start Willie Simmons has gotten off to here at FIU.
Definitely some young talent that can create hopefully a long tenured, well done resume here at FIU to either, I don't know, maybe even go into the professional level, let alone stick with college football. It's interesting to note, Kevin, the initial reports and the rumors that circulated, we reported about it, was that along with Coleman, you'd get Rick Stockstill, who would become the tight ends coach. It looks like that was not the case, Kevin. It ended up being Ponce. We did get Coleman right as the OC. So what can you tell us about Stockstill and how that I'm assuming fell through?
Yeah, so it's weird. I understood that he was there, but I guess not. That wasn't my report either to begin with. Mm-hmm. It wasn't mine. I tried to confirm it. I thought I had to confirm that something fell through, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes on the staff in some sort of capacity, maybe as an offensive analyst. But again, he's an FSU alum. I would have found it hard for him to leave the power conference ranks. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to go out there and recruit as much as you may think as an offensive analyst. So yeah, I mean, it's still Frank Ponce is an amazing hire, FIU alum, FIU former coach coming back for a second stint. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have Frank Ponce on. I would have been happy if he was the offensive coordinator. He had some really fun teams at App State.
He did.
I mean, when he first got to App State, that team then went to the Sun Belt Championship, I believe, once. That team was a juggernaut, back when he was in his first stint. Unfortunately, they didn't go to a bowl game this season, but you look in years past and they did. I mean, Joey Aguilar was the Sun Belt player, the offensive player of the year. He was the newcomer of the year. He put up all these record-breaking numbers over there. Again, He's going to coach the tight ends, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has some sort of say in when it comes to the offensive playbook, offensive schemes. We even maybe see him coaching up Kiwan a little bit. Something else I'm going to be looking at as well is who will the play caller be on offense, Jake? Now, It needs to be noted, Willie Simmons called his own plays on offense at FAMU. So I'm going to be looking at, will Nick Coleman be that guy? He has play calling experience. They both do. Now it's just a matter of who will the play caller be. If I had to guess, it's going to be Simmons, but I wouldn't be surprised in maybe year one, it'll be Nick Coleman. And by the way, play calling, head coaches having the play calling duties in Conference USA is not something rare. Mm-hmm. Scotty Walden has it at UTEP, and up to a certain extent, Sonny Cumbie had it at La Tech. So it's just worth noting. This isn't something that isn't done, because at the NFL level, we know, like, for example, Mike McDaniel does it with the Dolphins, I believe. Some other guys do it at the NFL ranks, but in college, you don't see it too often. So, just needs to be noted. In CUSA, this is done, this isn't a rare occasion where you would have Willie Simmons calling the plays. No. This is pretty well known. I'm excited to see what offense here, and I believe UAB was more air raid, which would be extremely fun for Kiwan. I'm sure he's excited for that if that is the case. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, this is an amazing coaching staff. We're going to have to get more in depth with it. Of course, I have an article coming out on G5 Football Daily about the staff, and I'm excited to see what it looks like.
By the way, quickly, shout out Steve Goldstein. They're lurking in the comments. Shout out this account, FIU Football Updates. They've been putting in the work on socials, Kev. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not sure who.
Hey man, they give me some of the updates sometimes. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm not sure who runs the account exactly, but they put in the work as far as coverage.
It's them and FIU Football Central, so they've been putting up some good work. I'm happy about that. Yeah, definitely get to see FIU accounts out there, not just us.
Yeah, way more. Like when we started, Kev, it was us. It was the Barstool account, and then he had Panther now doing a little bit of stuff here and there. But yeah, it's cool to see all these new accounts just kind of spark back up. By the way, I am going to make an assumption like you that it is Simmons is going to end up being the main play caller on offense for the football team. But regardless, so we talked about the transfers, we talked about the coaching staff. What else should we discuss here, Kevin? I mean, we saw UConn, one of the opponents that FIU is going to play next season. They look damn good in that bowl game against UNC. Just going to point that out there. FAU making a lot of new moves as well. They got Veltkamp, so it's going to be Veltkamp versus Jenkins, and the two new.
That's going to be a fun game. Two new coaches. You have one new quarterback. It's going to be a fun game, the Shula Bowl. Thankfully, it's in Miami, so we won't have to make that trip. But yeah, it would have been pretty fun if it was at Boca Raton. We would get to hopefully see the FIU win. But no, man. I mean, look, first-time head coaches, both of these guys trying to – well, for Simmons, first time at the G5 level, for first-time head coach. They're going to try to see they want to make a statement. So they're going to go all in. And, this is a game like, for example, if FIU went 1-14 or whatever it was, and that was their only win, you would feel pretty decent.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm over exaggerating, of course, but
okay.
Yeah, but if that was your only win, I mean, you still beat your in-state rival, your biggest rival. You would have that one feel-good win. You would still have the trophy in Boca and Miami. So
that empty trophy case can finally get a trophy in it. You know the one.
I hope he gets a trophy soon, man. I really do. But look, man. I mean, look, that game's gonna be fun. We're gonna analyze it. But FAU's putting up a good team.
They are.
Their coach,
they're looking
Kitley,
good.
I believe it's Zach Kitley. He is putting up one hell of a coaching staff, and he's putting up one hell of a team. I mean, Caden Veltkamp, Easton Messon, wide receiver slot guy. He's going into the P5 ranks, G5 ranks, JUCO. He's going everywhere to get some players. So should be exciting to see, what it looks like at the end. And
at the time we're recording, we're Penn State, who is taking on Boise in the Fiesta Bowl. We still don't know the FCS team. I think we'll probably hear about that soon, I would think, what the FCS team officially is. And I think that's pretty much it for FIU football right now. There's still going to be a lot of new names that are going to be transferring in. Hopefully, maybe some guys who, like you mentioned, Kev, earlier at the top, enter the portal. Maybe they'll have a change of heart and step back in, and we'll see where some others go. And then we'll eventually get towards the spring camps, summer camps, fall camps, and back to the start of next football season. But that's going to take a while. because the college football offseason is painfully slow, as you know, Kevin.
Painfully slow, but painfully active. And we're going to get a lot. I mean, we're still going to have so much content, just coaches, players. Like, look right now, another guy committed to FIU, not transfer, but recruiting. I believe it's a St. Thomas Aquinas offensive lineman, so getting some depth up there. And we're going to probably do something for signing day, which is coming up soon. So we're going to make all these signings official, at least from the portal wise. And then these guys are going to be able to sign their letters of intent to officially be Panthers. Like Jackson Verdue go to the tight end, this offensive lineman right here, the 4-star defensive lineman. So it's going to be pretty crazy coming up. But we still have basketball. I'm trying to, at least you and I are trying to go all in on that coverage. Baseball's coming up. I'm super pumped about that. So much excitement around that baseball team, as you guys know, with Coach Witten and that's and the staff and the players. So, yeah.
So, I don't have anything for news break, Kev, but I think let's do a quick around FIU athletics. Get the people caught up. What you say?
Let's do it. It's been a while.
All righty. Welcome to Around FIU Athletics. Who to watch from the 305. There's 3 active sports right now: men's basketball, women's basketball, swim and dive. Let's get right into it. Now, keep in mind, at the time of recording, it's December 28th. At this point in time, FIU men's basketball has a 5-7 overall record. They're going to be taking on Utah Tech earlier on this day. If this is going to drop at Monday night, which I think it will, they're going to be taking on Utah Tech at the bank at noon. That was on ESPN+. They're going to actually stay at the bank for 2 more games to start off the Conference USA slate, starting off on Thursday, January the 2nd at 7 o'clock against Middle Tennessee, and then Saturday, January the 4th at 2 o'clock against Western Kentucky. Of course, every single Conference USA game can be watched on ESPN+. So that is the state of men's basketball. Now, women's basketball at the time of recording has a 4-7 overall record. They're coming off the Christmas Classic, which was always fun to see. They beat Hampton, lost to Miami of Ohio. They are also going to be taking on Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky to start off the season. However, it is going to be on the road at Murfreesboro and Bowling Green, January 2nd, 7:30, January 4th, 3 o'clock. Now, FIU swim and dive has a 2-3 overall record. Shout out Jonathan Mayer. They are currently coming off a tough loss against the Marshall Thundering Herd in their most recent meet, which was on Monday the 16th. However, they're gearing up for the FIU Diving Invitational, which is coming up real soon, starting on Thursday, January the 2nd at 10 o'clock, and then continuing all the way to Saturday, January the 4th. The first 2 meets will be over at the Biscayne Bay Aquatic Center, and then the Saturday finale will be in Coral Springs. So, though that was your quick look at Around FIU Athletics. By the way, before we continue talking about basketball, I think you know who we have to give a quick shout out to. Jonathan Mayer, graduating. Hey, how about it, Johnny? Longtime friend of the show, member of the show. Obviously, Johnny's a busy man, dude. He's doing a billion things for FIU Athletics upon graduating. So, a legend of the show. I just wanted to, give a big congratulations. I remember when I graduated, it was so much fun. Kevin, I know you'll remember when you graduate. Maybe you can borrow Johnny's cap and gown, or maybe my cap and gown. And
you still have that?
Of course, I have it saved somewhere. I think it's with my diploma and tassel and all the things they put on you, like if you have a dean's list or whatever. I was not valedictorian, but I did get on the dean's list, so they gave me I forget what it's called, a tassel, something like that.
Tassel. It's a tassel.
Yeah. So shout out Johnny. Put in the work. I think he had a pretty good GPA, and bright things I know are ahead for that man. He's already doing so much SID, men's soccer, swim and dive, and then baseball, which is right around the corner. My gosh. Yes. So let's get into the men's basketball team. They are getting ready for conference play. Again, if this drops on Monday night, then we won't know if FIU will have won or lost against Utah Tech. But still, a lot of mixed results for the Panthers in the non-con. However, they are now getting ready for conference play in a very good basketball conference this season, Kev. Conference USA. A lot of great teams in it. Unfortunately, FIU finds themselves in last place in Conference USA entering. But I think it's still a race. It's a good race. It's up for anybody at this point, and I'm interested to see what this FIU team can do in the conference play.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting season. They've been in every game they've played, to be honest with you. Like, there hasn't been any blowout per se. I mean, the biggest, I guess, quote unquote, there just hasn't been quote unquote blowout. Maybe the East Carolina game where they lost by 11. That's about it. But that was a very close game all the way through, to be honest with you. So, I mean, again, look, they've played very close games. It's been one-score games for the most part. So I'm not too worried about the team, but again, you're going into conference play. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, just to start it off, two very good teams. There's no bad team in Conference USA, and technically the bad team is FIU, if you want to put it in that way. But I don't want to put it like that. But again, I mean, it's a team that's struggled for sure. They've been winning more of the rebound battles. It's been actually a lot better in that case, but I think we need to talk about, Jaden Brewer and what he's been able to do, putting up 14.5 points per game. He's been awesome, 5.6 rebounds. He's shooting 46% from the field. So, I mean, this is a guy who's one of the best transition players, and not just in the conference, but in the country, I would say. And he's having himself a very nice season. He started every single game. Again, you can't ask for more from Jay Brew and what he's been able to do. Recent guest on the show. We have to also talk about Vianney Salachum. Vianney's been good, man. He has been a fun player to watch. He's putting up 9.7 points per game. Nothing crazy, but he has this season 26 blocks, which is crazy just to say. Definitely close to the conference lead, I would say. And yeah, man, I mean, look, this is a team that has some bright spots, but again, it's lacking shooting. I mean, this team has been horrid from the 3-point line. And they haven't been great from the free throw line either. They've been struggling to put shots up in general. A lot of their shots have been from inside the paint, which is why they've had so much success down there. And they've been a good team when it comes to the rebounding side aspect of things. So, especially offensive rebounds, they've been really good there. So, again, look, there's a lot of positives to look at. There's a lot of the negatives as well. So, we'll see more or less what this team looks like against Utah Tech, which I think is a pretty good matchup for the most part. They haven't been good this season by any means. We could quickly check what Utah Tech has been able to do this season. But I know it hasn't been great. So, basketball.
On average this season, I have some.
They're 4-10. They're 4-10.
4-10. Okay. I do have some stats pulled up here, Kev. The FIU on average, 73.8 points per game. That is the worst in Conference USA. As far as 3-point percentage go, they're at 29%, which is also the worst in Conference USA. If you look at, you mentioned offensive rebounds, they're actually middle of the pack, 11.3. Defensive rebounds, they're a little bit below. All things considered, man, there is not really many categories where you can say this FIU team really excels. I guess they're pretty good at assists, 14.3. That's up the top. 8.6 steals is also decent. But, and they're second in Conference USA in blocks per game, 4.9. That's pretty cool. But, yeah, the fact that they're bottom of the barrel as far as points per game, I believe, was it field goal? No, and 3-point percentage is very disheartening for a team that I think specialized in having great shooters last season. You had Hawkins, you had, of course, Arturo, who could attack anywhere, and to see that not continuing into this season, it's very tough.
Yeah, and I think the one other positive to note is the assists. They've been able to move the ball pretty well, to be honest with you. Now, again, this is a team that has struggled a lot when it comes to the turnovers. So I would be interested to see where they rank in turnovers overall. In
Conference USA, FIU averages 12.2 turnovers per game, which is 5th in Conference USA.
Right in the middle.
Least. Yeah, right in the middle. So, the shortcomings of this team have definitely been frustrating. And what makes it even more frustrating, like you had mentioned earlier, Kevin, there's not really a game this season, like you said, where it felt like FIU outright lost the game. Pretty much almost every game, especially in the games against Northeastern and FGCU, where, gosh, if one or two plays go their way, they end up winning that, and then we'd be talking about a team with a winning record if those games were to go FIU's way. Regardless, I mean, we're used to what ifs, right? The football season was full of those. Now we're into basketball, and there's still a lot of what if scenarios. But
Yeah, look, like right now, this is an FIU team that only gives up 70 points a game, which is fifth least in the conference. It's not bad at all. This is an FIU team that has dominated the boards on the offensive side of things, 11.4 rebounds a game, offensive rebounds per game. FIU just continues to struggle on the defensive rebounds, 25 a game. That's third least in the conference. Now, the FIU also just gives up so many rebounds. They give up 36 rebounds a game. And then combined team rebounds, FIU is the third worst rebounding team in the conference. Not as bad as last season, to be honest with you. And then, look, the small things. And I think with basketball, it comes down to a lot of the smaller things. Free throw percentage, not great, 70%. That's fifth in the conference. Shouldn't be that. I'm surprised it's that high, to be honest with you. But FIU also does, they don't give up too many free throws. Like, it's definitely interesting. But then you look at 3-point percentage. FIU is a 29% three-point percentage. I'm sorry. And then FIU gives up a decent amount of three-pointers, 30%. So again, it's just three-pointers made. FIU makes 5.4 three-pointers a game, and that's not normal. That's not good. Like, their games, and I'm trying to remember what game. I think it was the Howard game. Howard game, they had about a 17% three-point percentage, and their shoot and free throw percentage was not even good either. So it's definitely been like a lot of those smaller things. Like FIU's like field goal percentage. FIU's a horrible shooting team. There's no other way to say it. 44%, third worst in Conference USA. They give up the
17.2, by the way, 3-point percentage in that Howard game.
Exactly, yeah. So look, and then you look at field goal percentage, 42% field goal percentage that they give up, which is really good in a game. It's second highest in Conference USA. So it's a lot of struggles that you just look at and you're just like, these shouldn't be happening. But look, on the bright side, we mentioned Vianney, what he's been able to do. I'm trying to find the block shots per game. He's tied. He's second in block shots in Conference USA, second most behind La Tech's Daniel Bacho, which is just so good. And then you look at assists per game. I mean, Ashton Williamson has been the guy to go there. Sim Jones is 10, Brewers 11, Williamson is 12th in the conference. So it's not bad. A lot of good stats, a lot of encouraging stats. But again, this is a conference. A Conference USA is so good, and it's going to be a multi-bid league at the end of the day. Look, we look at the standings right now. FIU is last, but you have a team like Liberty finds himself 12-1. La Tech is 11-2. Western Kentucky, which FIU is going to face in a couple of days, 9-3, and then you have Middle Tennessee, which is 9-4. West UTEP, a team that FIU beat, 9-3. Sam Houston, I believe they were the champs. I think they were. No, they weren't. It was Western. Houston came close. They were the first seed last year. They're 7-6. There's no team under 500 in Conference USA except FIU. And a win against Utah Tech could really change a lot of things for FIU. I mean, you look at that game, that's probably the most important game of the season right now, because instead of being 2 games or 1 game under, and you could kind of tread water somewhat in Conference USA, FIU, for the most part, has been a team that's gone off to a good start in CUSA play. They got off to a good start last year. I believe they went 2-1, I want to say.
Yeah.
Against USA play. It was a huge win against UTEP, if you remember. So I'm trying to find it right now.
Also, Kevin, I don't know this immediately. Bracket wise, obviously you had 9 teams last year. Pretty much everyone got in, gave it a shot at the CUSA tournament. Now that there's a 10th team, how is the actual playoff bracket or tournament bracket going to change? Does everyone still get in? Are there going to be a couple of teams left out that don't do well enough, or is everyone going to get a shot at the trophy regardless of how they actually do this season?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would assume maybe if everyone gets in, there's a team, the first place team gets the bye, and there's a playing game somewhat. I'm not exactly sure how the CUSA tournament will work. I don't know if there were teams left out when UTSA, FAU, and all those other teams were in.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to know, because FIU at this moment would be left out of the tournament for the first time in a while.
Yeah. So definitely a very frustrating season so far, you mentioned. However, currently with a 5-7 overall record, if you're talking about overall records, let's assume FIU beats Utah Tech. They're 6 games behind the first place team for the overall record. And I mean, listen, the conference slate in college basketball is long. It is lengthy. It starts on January and it goes all the way to flipping early March. So there is a lot of ground FIU needs to make up. However, there are a lot of games for FIU to do it. And obviously, it's going to be tough against the best of the best because FIU so far this season, I would say, is unproven, unlike the teams Liberty, La Tech, and Western Kentucky, who you kind of expect to be really good in the conference slate just because of how great they looked in the non-con. But there is a lot of ground that FIU needs to make up, but they're going to have enough games to do it. That's not a problem. For how long?
It's just a matter of being able to win, especially at home. FIU should be able to win at home this season. They've actually been pretty decent at home, 3-2. They actually have a road win, which is crazy to say. Jeremy Ballard hasn't had a road win in a very long time. Mm-hmm. Stetson, thankfully, a road win, first one since the Houston Christian game, which is crazy to think about. And FIU should have a shot at getting another road win. I mean, you're playing UTEP, I believe. They're playing every conference team on the road. Kennesaw has actually been a really good team. FIU beat Kennesaw last season when they're actually decent too. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. UTEP, FIU was able to beat, but FIU did not win a single conference road game last season. I want to say they went 1-12 on the road. They did not win a conference game on the road last season. So it would be a very long time since FIU won on the road against a conference opponent. Obviously not counting the neutral site game against Jacksonville State.
I think it can't be overlooked how much Brewer brings to this team, Kevin. To be the leader in points, rebounds, and assists, one man for an entire team, it's rarely heard of. I mean, you really do not.
Well, Asim Jones leads the team in assists, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he's number 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so regardless, to see a guy, I think they're tied. They both have 2.8. So they're tied. Technically, if you want to be real, Onyx averages 4 assists per game, but
we won't be counting that.
So yeah, 2.8 Brewer and Jones are tied. You are correct. But still, it can't be undermined how amazing Brewer is for this team and what he's able to do. But I feel like the fact that Brewer is the leader in rebounds and assists is, while it is a great thing to see, I think it's also kind of a not great thing to see. Because at times, like you mentioned, this team can really get on cold streaks. And I think that was a big problem they had in the FAU game in the second half that kind of set them back. They were playing with FAU all game, but then they could have just gotten to a cold streak towards the end of that game, and FAU made them pay, and that's why they lost that game, I want to say. So
I agree. The one other thing I want to note is Sim Jones, how good he's been recently. 12 points against Stetson, 13 against East Carolina, 15 against IU Indianapolis, IU Indy. He's been really good as of late. 62% from the field in that game in the win, 50% from in the East Carolina game, and then 40% against Stetson. He's been good, man. He's been good. He's getting some assists, 4 assists in the last 2 games leading up to IU Indy, 3 in the IU Indy game. Had 2 steals in the IU Indy game. He had a block as well. I mean, he's been a fun watch. I think after early struggles, he's finally getting it going. The one guy who has slowed down a bit is Ashton Williamson, who is a little disappointing to see, but I felt like it was going to catch up to him at some point once teams started figuring out what he's been able to do this season. So I'm not too worried about that. But he's still kind of, moving the ball around pretty well. 4 assists in the last game, 2 against East Carolina, and then 1 against Stetson, and still putting up some steals, 3 against East Carolina, 2 against IU Indy. And the rebounds are definitely not where you want him to be exactly from where he was to begin this season. I'm trying to find total rebounds. Yeah, he only had 1 rebound in each of the last 2 games. But again, I think he's getting good game scores. Like in the IU Indy game, he had a 10 game score. But aside from that, he had 1 really bad game, which is the FAU one. He had a negative game score. Aside from that, he's been a positive impact on the court for FIU to begin the season and his FIU career. So, and then the other guy we need to talk about, and I mentioned him already once, but Vianney has been a very positive addition for FIU.
Yeah.
I mean, just on the from the boards that he's been getting, it's impressive what he's been doing. So I'm excited to see what he does, and I'm sure you are too, Jake. But
Mhm.
he's been, he got off to a terrible start with FIU. There's no other way to say it. You look at that first game against Rice, literally at a negative 4.1 game score. He fouled out in 9 minutes of play. But you look at his last couple of games, he's been a fun watch. There's no other way to say it. 12 points against IUND. He had 11 against Stetson, 19 against the New College of Florida, 20 points against FAU, which is a career high. So he's been a fun watch. He's still yet to reach 10 rebounds, which is crazy for me to think about.
That is true.
So such a tall dude. I mean, he's what, 6'11", 198. He's a big dude. So we'll see what happens. But this FIU team still has some pieces. Now it's a matter of, can those pieces maybe compete a little bit more in the conference slate? And you have to win on the road. If you want to succeed, you need to win on the road. Jeremy Ballard hasn't been able to do that in conference play in over a year. So it's going to be interesting to see what this FIU team looks like in conference play for sure.
I'm really hopeful Vianney can get to a double-digit points per game average. He's really close. He's at 9.7.
It's not even that. You just need to get some more rebounds,
more
blocks, keep doing what he's been doing. You could average 9 a game, and you could still be a good player. Ash Williamson could do the same exact thing. Pump up the rebounds, pump up the assists. And same thing goes with a couple other guys on the team that we won't talk about today. But I think this FIU team definitely has some adjustments to make. They've been in foul trouble a lot this season, at least early on. That hasn't been a big of an issue recently. There's still a lot of changes that need to be done to this team to really get it going and at least be in the middle of the pack of the conference. They're not going to be at the top. They're not. There's really good teams like Western Kentucky, La Tech, and I'm missing another one, Liberty, that are not gonna. You're not going to beat. You're just not going to be on top of those teams unless you get off to a very hot start in conference play, which is totally possible. Let's just look really quickly, Jake. You have MTSU and Western at home. Then
Western's going to be a good early test.
That's going to be a very well. Honestly, each game is going to be a good test. Middle Tennessee's 9-4. Louisiana Tech is a good team, and then you have Sam Houston, which is struggle. Same thing with New Mexico State and UTEP. Those are all winnable games. I'm being straight up. Those are all winnable. Your big test comes on January 25th against Liberty. So that's how I see it. I think FIU has a good chance to keep up with these teams. They beat Liberty too last season. Mm-hmm. So they beat these big teams in the conference. They beat Western Kentucky. They beat Sam Houston. They beat Jacksonville State. And that's a matter of repeating and doing it again. And they have a good shot. I mean, who knows? FIU. I'm not saying March Madness, but I'm saying they're going to be putting up a pretty good fight in the CUSA tournament at least.
So, I just Kevin, it kind of stings. I wish we could have more positives overall to say about FIU, but they've unfortunately have put themselves in a really tough predicament. And if it turns out that not everyone gets into the tournament this year, then FIU could be in some major trouble down the line. But like I said, while they have a lot of ground to make up, they have 3 months, or I should say 2 months, two and change to get back into the swing of things and get a spot in there.
Yep.
By the way, the women's team also last in Conference USA, but the margin is actually it's not as bad. They have a 4-7 overall record. Western Kentucky leads Conference USA with a 9-3. It's only a 5-game difference. There's actually a couple of 5-5 teams with Jacksonville State and Kennesaw. So there's still a road for women's basketball to make up. It actually might even be a little bit easier for them.
And they've been dealing with some injuries too.
They have.
You don't have Maya Kone, Tanasia Hayes, two of them that have been out there. So I think once they come back, we'll be seeing a different team.
Yeah. So I think that's it for basketball. If you have any final thoughts, Kev, we're hopeful that FIU can get the dub against Utah Tech because at least you can go in with a little bit more confidence. You can say that you ended the non-con on a high note and then get into conference play. You don't even.
It would be a better non-con record than what they had last season for sure. So that's encouraging. But yeah, nothing else really. Honestly, I mean, you'll be there. We'll be there all covering.
Yeah.
Rodriguez will be there with us, possibly with me on that January 2nd against MTSU. So we'll see what happens, but should be a fun ride. A lot coming up, not just basketball, but athletics in general.
All right, I'll give you the floor here, Kev. What can you say about baseball? Give us something passionate. Follow the advice of the speed limit sign behind you and slow down a bit. Talk a bit about baseball and what you're getting geared up for.
Yeah. Camp starting up soon for them, official camp, spring camp, which is the big one. We'll be seeing a lot more scrimmages, night scrimmages. So that should be fun. Schedule dropped. I don't think we spoke about the schedule. It's a very good schedule.
Yeah.
Decent schedule, actually.
We kind of overlooked that when talking with Rich. We didn't really get a chance to. I mean, we talked with him for 55 damn minutes. I mean, give us a break. But yeah, we didn't really speak with him with the schedule that much. But yeah, you mentioned some very fun matchups here and there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. Well, I think we'll do. I'll have my annual preview about the team coming up soon.
It's gonna be fire.
It will. Fire. So FIU
the last preview popped off.
It did
massively.
I think it's been like one of our most viewed articles.
Facts
on the site.
Facts. So. It's up there. So I expect nothing less. You talk about some of the returners and some of the newcomers. A lot of exciting newcomers. We talked about it with Coach Witten. A lot of exciting names, and then you open up with Stonehill on Valentine's Day. Kev, you gonna bring your girl to the game February 14th?
We'll see. We'll see if I have one by then.
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up there, Kev. So again, thank you guys for an amazing. I do want to briefly touch up about that. We got 10 minutes here still. 2024 was bleeping amazing for the Paws Up podcast and the growth of us. We obviously have gone over 75 episodes, which was a big benchmark for us. We've had some amazing guests on the show over the course of the span. The Paws Up preview series popped off again with football. Paws Up on location had a lot of great looks, especially recently with the Coach Simmons thing. That one really took off as well. We've been invited to a lot of other podcasts and shows this entire year, so we got to thank you guys who have invited us to other events. And 2024 was freaking amazing for us, Kev. It truly was.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I think 2025 will start out with a bang. I think that's the best way to say it. We're working on some guests, 3 really good guests for football, which we're very excited about bringing on. I think you more or less could know who it is at this point. But we're trying to get that. Yeah, we're trying to work on that. Baseball's coming up. We're gonna kill it with the baseball. I'm sure about that. We're killing it with men's basketball. With what they've been able to do. So I'm excited to see where this podcast goes, where the website goes. But we need your support. Make sure you're following, like, and subscribe. We already reached over 100 subscribers on YouTube, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yep, we need to reach 1,000 though, so that's our next big goal. And yeah, man. Look, again, I love doing this. I love doing it with you. Just keep getting on here and talking FIU, getting some guests. These are the episodes I enjoy the most. The ones where we could just talk about FIU. I enjoy the previews as well. We're gonna have one for baseball for sure. We're gonna have so much coming up. We're so excited. So yeah, Jake, not much more to say. Just big things coming up in 2025. 2024 was awesome. Hopefully 2025 has a bowl game. Hopefully 2025 has us on site some more away games.
And a big benchmark, episode 100.
It will happen in 2025 for sure.
In 25. I can't wait to see.
How many did we have? How many episodes did we have this year? I mean, that's what I want.
I'd have to. I can pull it up on our, by the way, renovated, redesigned Paws Up page that happened this year. It looks, my God, Kev, it looks so flipping good now. So the first episode was episode 45. That was the first one in 2024. Now we're on 77. That means
78.
Or yeah, 78. So that's 33. 33 episodes dropped this year.
So we will be just over 100 by the end of the year.
Fingers crossed. You never know. But again, thank you guys so much for the support in 2024, and things will even get better, hotter, and even more content to drop in 2025. So we'll leave you there. Kevin, get someplace warm, get out of Philly. Yes, you will. Till next time, we're gonna have a cool guest on, Kevin mentioned, but until next time, have a happy new year and Paws Up!